Friday. I am super excited to be here today with the awesome Jody Thompson. Yay. So if you didn't see I did a quick little video on LinkedIn just the other day talking about how this woman changed my life when I heard about ROWE. It was actually like indirectly through Dan Pink, because Dan Pink, the author of Drive, was talking about ROWE and this model that Jody had created. And I was sitting in this meeting room in the corporate world, feeling kind of disengaged, to be totally honest. And I heard about this and I went, what? Like, this is even a possibility? And it just sent me on this complete journey of like, what could be possible in the work world? And why have we been doing things this way for so long? And why isn't, especially since the pandemic hit, I just said to Jody before we jumped on live, like, is everyone going, your phone must be ringing off the hook, because everyone should be a ROWE now, because they would be totally set up for success, because well, we're going to talk about what it is, how it's different from what people are doing right now, and all of that. So Jody, welcome. Hi.
It's so good. It's like the band is back together, Pam. It is just so great to see you and be on LinkedIn Live with you. Let's get this rocking and change
Yes.
some people's perspectives. We can do
Yes,
it.
let's. And I would love, so I cannot see the LinkedIn screen right now. So if you are here live, can you please just drop a comment in the comments and just let us know you're here. Let us know where you are joining from, and tell us what you know about a ROWE. Like, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, is like, have you ever heard of, maybe on a 1, maybe you've never even heard of a ROWE, and maybe a 10 is, we are a ROWE. And we'll kind of question whether you really are, because we were talking about that. There's some misconceptions of what a ROWE is. But we are, yeah. So let us know what's your understanding. And I see Karen here. It sounds like Sylvia is here. We would love to hear from you what you are, what do you know about a ROWE? So, Jody, what is a ROWE? What is a ROWE, and how is it different from like, everyone's going hybrid. People have been working remotely. Isn't that like, aren't we all just rowing now?
Oh, Pam, really? It's so funny because somebody said to me the other day, "Oh, Jody, you must be just thrilled. Everybody's ROWE now." And I'm going to just start out by telling you what ROWE is not. So, results only work environment is not a work from home program. And what's interesting that I'm seeing now really over the past year, is that people went from one level of control, right? We're all in the office, 2% of us are working remotely.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hits, and we took the office and we installed it in our homes.
Yeah.
And so we're still trapped in a system where we don't have any control over our time. Now, with the results only work environment, first of all, there's no labels. There's no remote worker, there's no work from home worker or flex worker or maxi flex worker or spin around on my head worker. There's none of those labels.
But
It's
Jody, wait.
just work.
Oh, I'm being told my mic is low. Is it? I'm just checking that. But Jody, wait. Is someone in charge though still telling me that I need to come into the office a certain number of days a week, because we still need culture in a ROWE, right?
So the interesting thing, Pam, is that when somebody is asking you to come in 3 days a week, come into the office and then have 2 days working from wherever you want, what they're doing is they're controlling your time. They're managing you, not the work. And that's a very big distinction in a results only work environment. In a results only work environment, the conversation is around the work and the measurement of the work. It's not around where I'm working from today, or if I'm leaving early or coming in later, or any of that kind of stuff. One of the things that's like really bothering me is people are talking about going back to work. You're working. You're working right now. You've been working for the last year. And now we're saying we're going to go back to work. What have we been doing? That's the mindset that
Mm-hmm.
we're stuck in, that we believe that collaboration happens in the office, that we can't collaborate unless we're face to face. All of those old orthodoxies are keeping us trapped in the system. And I will tell you right now, nothing's changed. Hybrid is another level of control.
Right. I just want to welcome, I see Jen and Linda and Nadia here. Some of them have been introduced to you in the past at Impact 99 or the Reinvent Work Summit. And
Yay!
so, yeah, Jody and I were just saying it's like getting the band back together because we have talked about ROWE many times over the past years. And so, okay, so what you're saying is that so I'm gonna share like a few of the things that I've been seeing lately. So I saw Google. Like we look to Google all the time as like, oh my gosh, what's Google doing? Surely like they're the innovators, right? And so they just put out their policy around, certain jobs will be able to be remote and certain jobs will be in the office, and then other jobs will be 3 days a week in the office and 2 days a week wherever they work best. And like
so,
I know I read this and I
so
was like, why would you ever say that you could only work 2 days a week wherever you work best? Right. So
right.
they're still managing time. Even companies like Google that we think are such innovators are still focusing on the wrong things. And here, like the thing that I really think that changed my realization when I went through ROWE training years ago was like we are used to just going to work from 9 to 5. Like I know that I go to work from 9 to 5. I remember you saying this to us in training. Like I go to work. What do? I go to work 9 to 5. Maybe I'm doing spreadsheets or I'm doing whatever I'm doing, but we're not clear about the outcomes of the work. And can you talk more about that? Like what shifts in a row about like the focus on the work? What does that even look like? Because I think we aren't clear on that.
I when I go do trainings, I'll go in the room and I'll say, raise your hand if you're crystal clear about the measurable results you need to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say about a quarter of the people raise their hands in a room of 35.
Yeah.
So what does that tell us about what we're focused on?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we're very clear about in the workplace. We're clear about how many vacation days we get. We're clear about what looks like the right time to come in. We're clear about what looks like the right time to leave. We know when the lunch hour is. We know how to play the rules of the traditional workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And anything outside of that rule is counterculture.
Yeah.
So if I get up and leave at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people are like, well, where are you going?
Right.
Because I don't look like I'm in culture. I look like I'm a crazy person getting up and leaving at 3 o'clock. Now, in a results only work environment, that type of behavior, leaving at a certain time, people don't even notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Because ROWE is about getting every single person, not just a quarter of the people, but every single person clear on measurable results and giving the autonomy necessary for them to choose the best location to be most efficient and effective every single day, not just 2 days a week, like you said, but all the time. But we haven't been able to get clear because people are kind of filling their days with a lot of activities like meetings, Pam. Like meetings look like work, right? We're all exhausted from meetings.
So tell me in the comments, do you have too many meetings or do people in your organization suffer from meeting overload? Because this is something I'm hearing so often. And so one of the guideposts of a row, there's 13 as I remember. And there's 13 guideposts. And one of my favorite guideposts is every meeting is optional. So,
So Pam,
Jody, but if you're my boss and you invite me to a meeting, I can't exactly say no.
Pam, when I met you and that was your favorite guidepost, I knew that you were the one, right? That would really tap into what this means. So people are wasting their lives in unproductive meetings,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you get a meeting on your calendar and you look at it and you go, like I have to waste an hour of my time there. You think that in your head, but you still go.
Right.
because meetings are an activity that look like work.
Hmm.
So if you're miserable and it's going nowhere and everybody doesn't know what's going on, that's how we look at work. But in a results only work environment, you look at that meeting and you go, well, what is my role? What is the outcome that we're trying to achieve? And do I have prep material so that the meeting is effective? If you can't answer those questions, then you go back to the meeting organizer and you say, it doesn't seem like this is a good use of our time. There's so many reoccurring meetings. There's so many just meetings thrown on people's calendar. And you know what? People are talking to me about Zoom fatigue. Guess
Yeah.
what? We had the same fatigue when we were in the office.
Hmm.
Same thing. Meetings, meetings, meetings that are wasting our time.
Yeah.
It's so fun to watch our ROWE certified organizations. They just kind of wrinkle up their foreheads and they're like, oh, yeah, we don't have that problem
Yeah.
because they're clear and they don't waste each other's time. Like wasting time
Hmm.
in a results only work environment, like doing time and wasting other people's time, is like not part of the culture.
Yeah.
Just isn't.
Yeah, the other thing that comes to mind when you were talking about like these norms around our times of work, I think this is one of the things that's causing so much overwhelm and overwork right now because especially through the pandemic. Now, here in my part of the world, we are in different countries, but I'm in like Oakville, Ontario. Today, we just opened up non-essential retail to I think 15%. We are not working in offices. We are still pretty much on a lockdown. So we've been working from home. Schools are closed. So
Mhm.
parents are homeschooling. They, so, and there's been all this other stress through the pandemic. So what, like the thing that keeps on coming to mind for me is we have these norms around 9 to 5, right? So even though my company might have said to me, like, we get that everything's different now. You might need to take time with your kids or like work different hours and stuff. We're still like, there's a couple of things that are happening. One is I feel guilty if I'm not online 9 to 5, or like, I
Mhm.
feel like I should be, even though I am with my kids, but I'm not actually getting my work done. But I'm kind of like half here and half like checking on Bobby doing his work. And then I have to get my work done, so I'm doing that later at night. So I'm working like 18-hour days because I feel like I have to be 9 to 5 still. But and this is why like I talked to Julie, who you might know from Julie Waddell at CMHC, which
Mhm.
ROWE at the beginning of the pandemic. And I said, like, tell me about how being a results only work environment has impacted you as you went through this pandemic. And it was amazing because like they were already operating in this way that people knew that time doesn't have anything to do with work, which by the
Right.
way, like even for me who is fully in like bought into ROWE, went through training, have followed you for years, read the books, one of them right here. Um, and like sometimes in the past, I would have some people on my team say like, "Oh, well, I can't be online from like 10 to 12," and like shifting like, and my mistake at the time was I don't care when you have to work, and I would say the words I don't care, and that got translated into me not caring. So I learned from that, but like really shifting the mindset to like the time that you are working does not matter. You just need to get your work done. And if it took you 2 hours instead of 10, even better. Like, I'm happy for you that you can have more of a life that day, right? Like, I'm
Mhm.
like, cool. But anyways, so back to this, like, so Julie was saying when they went ROWE, they didn't have to worry about what every other company was trying to figure out, like how do we know if people are
Nope.
getting their work done, or like how do we monitor hours. Like there are companies monitoring people being online, and oh my god,
Right.
and all they
Spyware.
had to worry about was people's health. And like, wow, like we're going through a pandemic, so they just had to worry about the most important thing, and like making
Mhm.
sure people were healthy and they had mental health resources and health resources and safety, like all the things they needed, because the work was already known. Everyone knew what the work was. And I'm sure
Right.
just ranted
Well,
for
not only
long.
that, that's what they talk about. They talk about the work.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference with ROWE certified organizations is they were just business as usual
Hmm.
because they were already operating in the mindset of I know what I need to do and nobody's judging me about where I'm spending my time.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things you run into, Pam, when you say to your, you might be a manager out there listening right now and you say, well, I just tell my people, it doesn't matter when you work or where you work, just get the work done. But there's this thing in work culture that we call sludge, you know what that is,
Yes.
where we judge how other people spend their time. It's just part of the vernacular of work. So I might say, well, it's 3 o'clock. Where's Pam?
Hmm.
I've been trying to get a hold of her and she's not online.
Yeah.
Okay, that's sludge. That's me judging you. Now, in a results only work environment, I don't have that thought anymore.
Right.
I just think to myself, what do I need from Pam right now? And when do I need it? And then I just reach out to you using technology. I let you know what I need and when I need it.
Yeah.
And it's really that simple. I think we're all trapped in this idea that we're naughty. I'm naughty if I'm not online from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. So I have to give somebody an excuse for that.
Hmm.
It's a liberating feeling. The company you're talking about in Canada, 2,000 people coast to coast, are completely liberated from that guilt and stress of irrelevant chatter around seriously what doesn't matter today.
Yeah.
We're a contemporary society, living in the 1950s. Right?
It
The
does.
mentality of the
Yeah, it feels that way sometimes. I'm seeing a question from Kyle, and Kyle, I also see your note about my mic, so let me know if it's any better. But Kyle is asking, how can collaborative teams use ROWE? I have some ideas, but I'm interested in if others have been able to use ROWE well when collaborative work is needed. So this is and I see like my assistant is answering some questions here about because we operate as a row, so we just get stuff done. But
yeah.
anyways,
So
tell
I'd
us.
I'd
Yeah.
I'd love to answer that. So one of the things to that people need to understand is ROWE isn't something you use. Okay, it's not a ROWE isn't a program.
Hmm.
It's an actual culture shift and a different way. Like your mindset is switching. So when you ask a question like, "How does ROWE work for collaborative teams?" Well, first of all, in order to collaborate, we have to understand what the work is. If we're crystal clear about what our goals are and we're crystal clear about the outcome of the work, we will naturally collaborate, but we will collaborate around the work.
Hmm.
So, our relationship building in a row, you don't build your relationship and collaborate around the water cooler. You build your relationship around the work.
Hmm.
So, for a collaborative, everybody's collaborative, right? If I'm a retail worker, if I'm in construction on an assembly line, we all have to communicate and collaborate. But it's the clarity of what we're doing together that bonds us together and binds us together. Not any rules about what collaboration should look like.
Yeah, it's not like a
So,
schedule. It's like, well, we have to collaborate now because it's 9 o'clock on Friday and this is our
right,
collaboration time. It's like we need to get this done. Does collaboration make that happen? Yes, let's do
right.
that. And you can do that whether you're working remotely with shared docs or video calls or whatever, or in the like, it doesn't matter where you're doing that from or how you're like, you figure out how to do it.
Yep. And so, what I want to kind of put in your listeners' brain right now is what I want everybody to do for the next week is think of every single person as remote. Okay, now here's what I want you to do. If you're in the office, you're remote. If you're in a coffee shop, you're remote. If you're on the third floor, you're remote. It doesn't matter where you are, we're all remote. So the reason we're remote is because we have technology. And by the way, if I'm in a building and somebody's out of my eyesight, remote.
Yeah.
But what we have to do is we have to level set that, right? We're all the same. in that way, and start communicating around the work, not about where people are or what time they're working.
Mhm.
I wanted to get into that sort of, hybrid thing that we're
Yeah, let's talk about hybrid.
wading into right now. So, what I want to do, Pam, is I want to talk to your listeners about equality versus equity, because
Mhm.
there's a big thing happening right now around that. So, equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources or opportunities, right? So, now if I look at equity, that says each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities to reach an equal outcome.
Okay.
They're both an idea that we need to be fair. So we're going to go into the hybrid model and we're going to take a look at that. I want everybody to picture for a moment. There's a wall, and we need to look over the wall to see what's on the other side. That's our goal. There's three of us. And to make it fair and equal, I'm going to put three platforms that we can stand on. They're all the same height, they're all the same, they're exactly the same. Now, Pam, the wall is 7 feet tall. Now, I'm 6 feet tall, so when I stand on the platform, I can see over. Yay, me! But when you stand on the platform, it's still another foot above your head. You can't see it. And somebody else is tall enough, just their eyes can barely peek over. We've created an equal environment,
Mhm.
okay? But it's not equitable. If it was equitable, we'd be looking at each person's needs and helping them with the resources so that they could all achieve seeing over the wall.
Mhm.
But they can't because we're trying to be equal. Let's look at hybrid. Here's what hybrid says. Hybrid says we're going to create an equal experience for everybody. And so how we're going to do that is like you said, Pam, 3 days in the office and 2 at home. But does that approach work for every single role? Does it work for every single person every single week? And are we treating people the same regardless of need, or are we treating them differently?
Mhm.
So that hybrid idea is is a step to try to make things equal, but it's not good for business because it's not making things equitable. Now, in a results only work environment, here's the equitable piece of that. I'm 100% accountable for measurable results. And I'm 100% autonomous, meaning I choose my resources, day, time, technology. I gather those resources so that I can be have the same equity as everybody else to achieve results, right? We're all on the same level playing field. It's about results, period.
Mhm.
And with that, it's interesting. I'm sure you saw this, Pam, but there was a letter to Tim Cook by a lot of his employees, not a lot of them. A handful of employees sent him a letter and said, you're not with hybrid, you're not meeting our needs. You're not meeting the needs of a contemporary workforce.
Mhm.
3 days in, 2 days out. We don't want that.
Right.
We don't want it. It's more control over our time and not clarity around the work. And that's why I said a year ago, nothing is changing because our mindset hasn't shifted.
Yeah.
We still believe most of the time we should be in the office. And I will put a prediction out there. A year from now, 90% of people are going to be in the office, and 5% are going to be remote, and 2% are going to be who knows what. We're going to all suck back in unless we can change our mindset.
Yeah, you know what? That's what I feel like everyone right now is figuring out what's our hybrid policy going to be? What
Mm-hmm.
roles can work remotely? What roles have to be in the office? How often, all of that. And no one has changed this mindset around
Oh,
getting rid of the sludge, around focusing on the work, and like what you just said about equity versus equality. It makes me think of neurodiversity and just the way all of us work differently. So, like, as an example, I find I am way more creative in the afternoons. And even like as my brain gets tireder, sometimes I come up with my better ideas. It's like a weird thing.
yep.
So I like to do kind of more rote things in the morning. I like to get meetings done in the morning so that I have my afternoons to be creative, to be thinking. Um, and I'm seeing, like, I heard about one workplace this morning that they're saying everyone from 9 till 1 is going to be when meetings happen. But after 1, because like this, it's well intentioned, right? This company wants to take care of their employees. It's a little patriarchal in my mind, but it's well intentioned because they know people are struggling with so many meetings. So they've said like meetings can only happen from 9 to 1 from now on. And from 1 till 5 it's meeting free. Like that's it. So that's great if you are the kind of person who likes to have meetings from 9 to 1 and get like work done from 1 to 5 or whatever it is. But it doesn't take into account how different people work differently and we have different needs, and you're not trusting your people to figure that out. And like I just see so many good intentions going wrong. And
It's yeah, you're absolutely right. Organizations are doing that. They did it before the pandemic, they're doing it now, and post-pandemic is going to be the same thing. It's not trusting your people to make those decisions.
mhm,
Good intentions, I want to care about you, but when you go back to that organization in Canada that you talked to, they're not trying to manipulate how people do work,
mhm,
right? They're trusting that people are going to choose the best way to do it any time of the day, night, whenever, and they're giving them resources if they choose to use them.
yeah.
Now, I remember many, many years ago that we had something called No Meeting Wednesdays at Best Buy corporate offices. And so everybody on Wednesday was supposed to work, and on the rest of the days, we could have meetings. That lasted about, I'd say, 2 weeks, and Wednesdays were completely filled up again. But you know what? They weren't filled up with meetings. We were smarter than that. They were filled up with gatherings.
That's
So
different.
all we had to do was switch the name of it, right? Because the culture was so meeting heavy that
Yeah.
if you didn't have a meeting, you didn't know what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do?
It is
Just sit
so
here
much
all
of
day?
what we do is habit.
Right. It's habit, and it's the belief that the real work happens in meetings.
Mhm,
And your listeners out there right now, they know that that's not true.
mhm.
But we continue to go to meetings because there's so much happening there around hierarchy and, being seen, and just some of those things that we think are going to help us in our career,
Yeah.
when if you take a step back and everybody's clear about the work, and the work drives you, right? And everybody's focused on that, you will advance if you want to advance. But we're playing game, we're competing against each other today.
Yeah.
We're competing against each other for FaceTime, and who's in the most meetings, and who's working the hardest, and who's the most burned out.
Yeah.
We have to move past that. We have to do better than that. It's time to do better.
I know. I don't know, I'm sure you've seen this, but I think it was Deloitte's study that they said the designing work for well-being is one of the
Mhm.
key things for the future of work. And again, I keep on going back to um, the misinterpretation of that, right? Because in a row, I'm going to call it a guidepost again. Every day feels like a Saturday, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's another one that I remember hearing that guidepost of a row and going, like, that makes sense. And if I'm designing work for well-being, don't you want every day to feel that freedom of like being able to schedule your grocery shopping, your house cleaning, whatever you do on a Saturday, the same way as you do your work? Oh, okay, I'm gonna like get this done then and schedule my own time. And that freedom that comes with that, I think just leads to well-being. The other thing that's coming to mind for me is as we're looking at the stress levels that people are feeling and the anxiety, and
Yep.
there's been studies that show that executives are feeling much past that now, like they're feeling better. But here's the thing, they do have time control, right? The executives don't often have to like call in to say like, can I take Friday afternoon off? But they have so much more control over their time, and other people don't feel like they have that. And so if you want people to feel less stress, you have to give them more control. And that's what this like full autonomy, full accountability does. Like I know what
Well,
I get done. Yeah.
it absolutely does. In a results only work environment, you're never asking permission.
Hmm.
Managers go from permission granting to performance guiding. They become results coaches. So that idea that I have to ask permission for to do my life and do my work
Yeah.
is very outdated.
Yeah.
Now, Yes, hierarchically, there's more control at the top, right? Over my time. And as you get more and more and more down to the team level, people don't have that control because the belief is if I can't see you, you're not working.
Hmm.
And even though over the last year we haven't been able to quote unquote see people, we've still put in monitoring devices. We're still seeing if they're online. We're still telling people they have to be online from 8 to 5. We're still giving those messages out. So
Hmm.
we have gained no control over our time. And just like with any kind of cultural shift that's trying to happen, a rubber band effect happens.
Hmm.
So as we try harder and harder and harder to move forward, the more clamped down we're going to be over time.
Yeah.
And so what managers and leaders need to start thinking about is what you said, Pam, like how do I give more autonomy to my workers? But guess what? That's going to be hard to do unless everybody's crystal clear about results.
Yeah.
It's watching the results and watching the work happening and being clear about what that looks like will decrease the anxiety of management to, well, I wonder if Pam's working or doing laundry.
So
Who
much time wasted.
cares?
Yeah.
Yes, who cares if she's doing laundry? Is her work getting done?
Yeah.
Who cares if she went bike riding at 2 in the afternoon? Is her work getting done?
Yeah.
Oh, she walked her dog at 9 in the morning? Why are you watching that?
Yeah.
Why are you looking at that and not the work?
Yeah.
The actual great work that people are producing.
Yeah. Can I read? I'm so Jody is co-author of a couple of books. This is the second one. I couldn't find my Why Work Sucks book, but I just want to read this example. So this is kind of the old way. Manager, Nancy, I see you've been missing some deadlines lately. Nancy, I know it's hard to keep up. Manager, is your daughter home on the days you're working from home? I know how hard it must be trying to take care of her and do the work at the same time. Nancy, she is home some of the time. It says one of the days. Manager, you may need to put her in daycare that day. Nancy, perhaps. And manager, another option is to come into the office every day. That might help you focus. And this is where I'm seeing like if the work doesn't get done, our default is manage that. Like I the knower of all things will tell you how you can get your work done, and that means
Right.
either come into the office, monitor your time, like whatever that is. And then here's the different one. So in a row, what would happen is Nancy comes to the manager and says, I want to make you aware of a couple of deadlines that are at risk. Manager says, great, tell me what's going on. Nancy says, I've been working with the vendor relations team to ensure blah, 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 blah. So she's saying what's at risk. Manager says, where do you think I can best help you? Nancy says, I would like you to escalate this issue to the director. Manager, I will do that today and get back to you by 4 p.m. From there, we'll decide how to approach this. Nancy, great. I'll inform the team. And it just like, I just love examples like that because this results coach position rather than like manager of your time and attendance, it is it's more human way of being. It's less
Right.
drama for me as a manager and less like it's ridiculous babysitting that we spend our time doing. And yeah, I think that's where if you are here today or watching this replay and you're worrying about hybrid and policy and what hours should we like make core hours or should we have no meeting times or all of these things that you're worrying about, I just really want you to call Jody and
I can help. I can help.
yeah, like and there are a lot of companies that think they're a row because they're allowing people to work from home. And I want to reiterate, because if you missed the beginning, we talked about how that is not what a row is. A row is not a work from home program. It's not a remote program. It's not a hybrid program. It's what would you say?
It's autonomy and accountability, period.
Yeah.
And flexibility is not autonomy. Much of what we do in the workplace is we take away people's autonomy. Now, that example you just read, Pam, was so cool because what the manager did is he asked, where do you need my help?
Hmm.
He didn't say, let me tell you what you need to do next. Maybe you should have been in the office more. None of that. It was how can I help you? And in a results only work environment, people already know how the manager can help them. That's what they're going to the manager for, a results coach.
Yeah.
And asking open-ended questions to people like, is everybody crystal clear about what they need to deliver? And if people are going like this, great. If they're kind of looking like they don't, that's the conversation.
Yeah.
Let's get more clear about that. Let's talk about our customer. Let's talk about your role in serving that customer. Let's talk about the work that you were hired to do and how we can get more clear about that, because that's what we're here for. That's why I pay you, right? To get the work done. And so then when you get clarity, then you go back into, how can I help? Is there anything you need?
Yeah. What's the real
Not
challenge for you here? What
right.
can you do differently to, sometimes it is because I do get people saying, yeah, but like relationships, people are missing out on relationships in this remote work. And so they're talking remote, but in a row, I imagine the same complaint would come up. Well, if you need the relationship to get your work done, what can you do to build that relationship? Right? You're a
Mhm.
human being and an adult. Surely we can
Right.
figure that out. Like let's work on
It
what's getting in your way. Like,
and it's guided discovery. It's
yeah.
helping people be competent, right? Instead of complacent. And we build complacency when we keep telling people how to do it based on how we think they should do it.
Hmm.
But I loved your question, Pam, because it's, well, how do you think you should build that relationship? Not, well, I think you should travel 3,000 miles in an airplane,
Yeah.
go to
Set
their
up a
office,
meeting
sit
every
down with them
Friday
for the
with
day.
that person, or yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Here's the 5 things you should always talk about with them.
Mhm.
That's what keeps us from building relationships.
Mhm.
Again, we have to stop trying to build a relationship around the water cooler. We have to build a relationship around the work. Because if I'm accountable to work, I will build a relationship with you.
Mhm.
I will, because I have to, because I'm not getting any kudos for the number of hours I'm putting in.
Right.
I'm not getting any slaps on the back for, how many meetings I was in that week.
Yeah.
That's just stuff.
I'm see I'm
I
I'm seeing a question from the audience. Do you have a few more minutes? You good? Are you good if I ask?
Yes, I'm
So,
good.
Jackie is asking, how do we set aside collaborative time in a row mindset when everyone works different hours? How do we support our essential service staff? Okay, so she works in an environment where essential service staff are working specific shifts. So how do we get
Mhm.
them to feel included? So different hours, specific shifts. So we'd love your perspective on that.
I would ask them. I would literally ask them how they want to do it.
Yeah.
Because here's one of the things from a management perspective. We're all smart people, but managers are in the role of thinking they have to solve all of these things. Sometimes if you just take a step back and say, why don't I ask the people? How do you think we can collaborate more effectively, everyone? What do you need in terms of collaboration? Is there anything you're missing in terms of what you're doing every day? Like, does something not feel right? Are we not talking between shifts? What is it?
Mhm.
Like, how can we collaborate better? And then step back and zip your lip.
Yeah.
And what happens first, managers, and this is important, you're going to get dead silence because they're not used to having to really think it through themselves. And what you can do is you can help them start being problem solvers and solving these issues
Yeah.
so that you're not, staying awake at night going, God, how do I do this? How do I do this with shift workers? Ask them.
Yes. Yes. And so often, like I call that the responsibility virus. Like we get promoted because we were really good at making decisions and figuring stuff out. And then we think, and that was helpful in our individual contributor role. And then we get promoted as a
Right.
manager and we continue to make those decisions for everyone else. So we are
Mhm.
stalling them in their development. We're probably making the
Right.
wrong decisions because we're not the ones doing the work. We're not closest to it. They know better than us. So I love that answer. I have another question here from Jen. Does the ROWE philosophy help people value more time spent on goal setting and clarity on goals and less on busy work?
Oh, Jen, spot on. Yes. Because in a results only work environment, you're constantly talking about the work. So performance is ongoing. It's all the time because that's all that matters. And you're not thinking of it as, twice a year I have a performance appraisal or, whatever that looks like. You're always talking about the work. So I loved that question. It absolutely helps people focus on what matters.
Right. And I just got really excited there because I just figured out how to add these comments to our video.
I saw that too, and I thought,
Sorry.
magic is happening.
I know it distracted me. Thank you for the question, Jen. And yes. Okay. So to wrap things up, uh, in my head, the things that come to mind, like, so ROWE, 100% accountability, 100% autonomy. It is simple, but not easy. And I
No.
think this is where people go wrong. They'll like, maybe like, they don't even read the book sometimes. They just hear results only work environment and think they did it by going remote. Or maybe they'll read the book and think they did it, but this is why then they end up coming back to the office because they haven't actually gone ROWE.
Yeah.
So they really do need your help. Like I have seen it even myself. I thought I was operating as a ROWE back when I heard you speak at Impact 99. I read your 2 books. I was like, all of the things. I was like, oh yeah, we're totally going to be a ROWE, results only, and like results coaching, no sludge, blah, blah, blah. I was still talking about hours and I was still sledging myself. By the way, that's super hard to stop sledging yourself.
Yep.
So then I went through actual ROWE training, and that totally helped me change my mindset and realize how many beliefs were getting in the way of that. So, how do people get in touch with you if they really want to reinvent work to be effective in the future after this pandemic? What do they do? How do they get you?
Yep. So they can go to our website. So it's GoRowe, GOROWE.com. Go ahead and see what's on the website. Click on our contact us page, and it's info@GoRowe. So people can just go ahead and email us if they want to learn more. Like you said, Pam, it is a process. It's a rewiring of the brain. It sounds easy, but it's complex. And I really do applaud people that read the book and try some of the concepts. But the book wasn't meant to be an implementation of ROWE. So there's things that aren't in there that you learned when you went through training, right?
Yeah.
That really helped you let go of some of those old beliefs. So that's what we do.
Yeah. And it is that changing the results coaching, like that is there's a lot that goes into that changing, all the scenarios we went through in training that you're going to run into all the time, and changing from what the old way of dealing with all those scenarios to a results coach way of dealing with that is a total shift for managers. And it's so, so important. So my dream for the world is that everyone starts calling you and your phone is ringing off the hook, and info@gorow.com is the biggest email email
Like it takes down the internet, right?
Yes, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like your email server goes down because people are emailing you. Because this is when you think about the rapidly changing, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous VUCA world that we live in, when people are able to be really clear about the purpose of their work, the customers they serve, what the work actually is, and their
Yep.
results, and then they're able to deal with whatever volatility comes up because they know what the end goal is, and they're able to make those good decisions all the time. And I just think it is the way of the future, and too many companies and leaders just don't really know what that is. So.
Yep, it's completely liberating, and we're here to help because it really does change how people think about business, community, and each other.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things that's life changing. And it really does help people respond to things, like you say, every single day in a way that makes sense
Yeah.
for this contemporary world that we live in. So
Yeah, and it's such a human way. And I'm just seeing, sorry, there were lots of comments that I missed. I'm seeing like the difficulty of getting good at defining the results. And I will tell you that the training does help with that, really understanding, like getting underneath. And Jody, I remember you asking me, well, why does that matter? Why does that matter? And I like feeling like, what do you mean? It is like, it's hard until you have someone really helping you and coaching you through really understanding what the results are and what the impact is and all of that. So I see these. I'm going to scroll through these comments. And I'm sure Jody will after, and if she has some advice for you, we'll add those to the comments. Thank you for joining us, Jody. Thank you. You are a true
Thank you.
pioneer in the world of work, and I'm excited, so excited to share more of you with the world. So,
And I can't wait to be able to come back to Canada again. So let's make that happen. It'd be so
yes,
fun.
yes,
Yeah. Thank you so much. Let's do this again sometime.
definitely. Thank you,
All
everyone.
right.
Go make work awesome and go row. All right.